Hi guys, welcome to this video about the cell membrane. Make sure you complete your note sheet on this and bring it back to class. Okay, so let's get started. The cell membrane. What are some other names for the cell membrane? Well, we need to know that another name for the cell membrane is the plasma membrane. And we're going to get to why it's called the plasma membrane in just a few seconds, okay? But make sure you write that down. Okay, so the plasma membrane, if we were drawing an animal cell, we would make sure we see the outer layer of that animal cell. We'll see the organelles inside, but we'll see here is our plasma membrane, or cell membrane. If it was a plant cell, let's just say we draw out our plant cell, we'll draw our cell wall in, and basically what we would, if we could see our plasma membrane, it's this thin layer just on the inside. A lot of times, looking at a plant cell, we don't see it because it's just smushed up against the cell wall. But that's where it would be in a plant cell. So both plants and animal cells have plasma membranes. In fact, all cells have plasma membranes. Okay, let's take a closer look at the plasma membrane now. I'm going to zoom in on maybe a little section, like right there, and we're going to blow that up so we can see the different parts of it. Okay, so I've drawn in a larger diagram of a plasma membrane so we can look at the different parts. First thing we're going to look at is this layer here, and this layer is composed of a phospholipid bilayer. And I'm going to look at one phospholipid right here, and we're going to draw that separately. So what we'll do is we'll draw it down here, and you need to draw that as well. So basically what we have in a phospholipid is two parts. We have a phosphate molecule and a lipid tail. Okay, so two parts to that, and what you have to realize is the phosphate is hydrophilic. Okay, hydrophilic, which means they're water-loving. And the tails right here, oops, sorry about that, these tails, those are hydrophobic. So, hydrophobic meaning water-fearing. Okay, they don't mix with water. They want to try to get away from water. So water-fearing. Okay, so these tails basically are going to go away from the water, and the phosphates are going to go towards the water. So if we look at our phospholipid bilayer again, if we look at this phospholipid bilayer, we can see the two layers. We can definitely see a layer, okay, starting to form right here, okay, and basically they're separated. They're two lipids that are going towards the middle of the plasma membrane. So that's why we call it a phospholipid bilayer. Phospho meaning the phosphates, those are in blue. The lipids, which are in red. And basically there's a bilayer because there are two layers, one up here and, oops, sorry about that, we have a lipid, one of the layers is here and one of the layers is here. So you might see that this is the outside of the cell, if we're just looking at this, outside of cell. And this might be the inside of the cell. Okay, so again, so there's our phospholipid bilayer. Now, there's definitely more to the plasma membrane than just that phospholipid bilayer. We also have these proteins, and proteins can go through the membrane, stick out of the membrane. So these proteins in here, this is a protein. This could be like a protein channel or something. And what this protein channel allows to happen is that these molecules, okay, that may not go through the membrane, might be able to go through this channel right here. So it might go through go through there, and it'll wind up going out the other side, or into the cell or out of the cell. So we have to talk about that with diffusion, that bag with little holes in it, basically. But we have to remember these protein channels can allow this to occur. Okay. So we talk about passive transport. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, like we like to say, the protein channels allow for the diffusion of molecules in and out of the cell. Okay, the movement of molecules in and out of the cell, like I said, that would normally not go through the plasma membrane. And one of those molecules that would normally not fit through the plasma membrane is water. So this green molecule right here could be a water molecule. You can kind of think of it that way. Another molecule we should think about with a cell membrane attached to it, or part of it, is these receptor proteins. Receptor proteins are very important because they're involved with cell communication. What happens is that we have things like hormones and other proteins that we need to there's going to be some molecules that will attach to these receptor proteins, like for instance insulin. We might throw that in here, and we might say insulin looks like this. It might fit the shape of this molecule, and so when it binds to this molecule of receptor, it can actually cause some other reactions to occur within our cell. Okay, so what we want to talk about differences is the difference between active transport and passive transport. Okay, so when we have just diffusion going on, just spreading out from areas of high concentration to low concentration, you're going to see molecules that are going to pass through in and out of the cell, but we might see at high concentration they might be just going right through, and that's going to require no energy from the cell to put out there. But in some cases, the molecules may have to go against the concentration gradient. They might have to go from low to high concentration. A lot of times this happens with ion pumps, where we need more calcium on one side of the membrane than what our concentrations are. So what might happen is that this molecule might be on a low concentration outside the cell and might need it higher in the inside. So what will happen is this will bond to this type of protein here. Okay, so this molecule comes in, and then it'll actually use energy. Okay, it'll use energy called ATP. So ATP will go and it'll be converted to ADP. And when that happens, the proteins will actually shift and move, and it'll actually move this molecule through the membrane into the cell. Okay, so we have this molecule that just went through the cell membrane, and it required energy. That's that ATP to ADP. And it went through against the concentration gradient, whereas this green molecule over here just follow the concentration gradient from high to low. Okay, so we have our two different types of transport here. Remember, passive transport requires no energy. It's just simple diffusion, movement of molecules from areas of high concentration to low concentration, where active transport moves materials from the areas of low concentration to high concentration. And when that happens, it requires energy in this form of ATP. So just to review, active transport requires energy, ATP, so the cell has to expend its own energy, and it moves molecules from low to high concentration, or like to say, against the concentration gradient. In passive transport, no energy is required, so the cell doesn't have to expend its own energy. So molecules move from areas of low to high concentration, and we like to think of passive transport in rethinking of diffusion. Okay. And we defined diffusion in another video, but diffusion is simply just the spreading out of molecules from areas of high concentration to low concentration. Just random molecular movement is going to do that, so the cell doesn't have to expend any energy at all. Okay, so this concludes our lesson on the plasma membrane and also active and versus passive transport. Hope you learned something, and hope you see you in school.